when you're animating on a show, you know, multiple scenes, multiple shots, and things are set up in a standard structured way, you begin to memorize, you know, like the names and the placement of things. And so when we were setting up the mouths for Mad, we always had them in the same order. That way, over time, you began to memorize, like, okay, frame 0 is the neutral mouth, you know, frame 1 is like the pursed lips, like for the BMP sound, you know, so on and so forth. So sometimes, and that was years ago for me, sometimes I still have that come up in my memory. And so I just tend to do things from, I don't know. Sometimes there isn't like a huge reason behind it, but just from what I remember, it became second nature. And again, this is my character design, but you can design your character however you like. So we start with a neutral mouth. It is more of a pointed beak. And there's the little lip line. And the jaw is just indicated by this little chin line. All right, and then BMP, which is all those consonant sounds that involved like a closed mouth or like pursed lips. So I'm going to draw that in relation to this. And so if I have a mirror on my desk and I'm looking at what my lips are doing when I make those shapes, like the whole mouth kind of like bends a little bit in on itself. So for this cactus, it's going to just ever so slightly bend down. And then this becomes a little bit straighter. Don't forget the chin. The chin isn't moving because the jaw is not moving. All right. And then we'll make like an ah mouth. AH. So slightly open. Make everything regular opacity. So the jaw definitely comes down a little bit for this shape. And then the top of the mouth is pretty much going to stay at the same height. You know, if you think about your own mouth, right? It's the jaw that goes up and down. The rest of your face, your skull doesn't really move. So that's kind of reflected here. Aw. And then an E mouth, which is where you will definitely see teeth. So if your character doesn't have teeth, then you just need to design this mouth with that in mind, you know. But this cactus does have teeth. E, and the jaw kind of comes back up for that shape. Let's do an O shape because that's where the lips are doing something very distinct. O, and then the jaw comes down a little bit. So this is a cartoon. The lips are actually going to make an O shape. O. And then L is where we'll need a little tongue. So L, L. Usually L and TH could be the same shape. Again, depending on your character design. So, so I'm just like acting it out myself right now. This is open slightly. And then of course I'll use color, you know, to show what's tongue and what's teeth. So here's the little tongue that's curling into the upper part of the mouth. um, like that. So this little part will be the tongue. And then we need an F and a V pose because those can be reused. F or V. And that's where the upper teeth is over the bottom lip. And so I might exaggerate it just a little bit. And then usually the lip curves. So is that different from the E? Tiny bit, but maybe I might want to emphasize one more than the others so that it's at least clear. So I'm going to redraw this one to be a different shape so that there's more distinction between this one and the E one. So let's see. I'll have the front of the mouth actually come a little further out and lower. Maybe have the chin come up. Okay, so I would basically just texture all of these and add color and then merge the stuff before heading into After Effects. So this is where it gets a little bit trickier because I don't have an outline to select. So there's different ways that we could do that. Let's see. I'm going to turn off the sketch and then just turn this on for reference. Oh, let me turn on the eyes too. I'll move the eyes. Yep, all of these are the eyes. I put them all in the folder. That way I can move this above mouse. Come on. Yep, here's my frame. And then I'll just turn this on for design reference. So because of the character design, you see how this eye is going to overlap like the snout. So I'm actually going to position, there's a couple ways you could handle this, right? You can actually split up the right and the left eye so that the left eye is on top of the mouth layer and then the right eye is underneath. But what I'm going to do instead is actually put the eyes behind the mouth and then just make sure when I create the texture for the snout, it won't overlap this eye because the mouths are hanging out on top. So all right. I think this is what I'll do for the texture. So let me bring that in again. Drag to the tab and then release. And then I'll rotate it. If you hold shift, it will click to 9 degrees. And then I'm going to duplicate it before I distort it. Okay, so here's the texture. You can take the lasso tool and then just try to draw in the line yourself. Which is a little bit inaccurate, but it's quick. And then if you hold down shift, you get this little plus sign that comes up. So if you missed a spot, you can go in there and just sort of draw it in and see how it connects. And I'm going to draw in this little chin here, make that a little circle. So I'm holding down shift this whole time, and so I can add areas of selection. If I hold down option, which I believe on a PC is Alt, then you can subtract areas of selection. So I'm like, okay, let me just shave off this bit a little bit. So that's one way to do it. Another way is to, draw a line here to connect it, but I don't like how that's going to look. So let me just do it this way with this selected on my texture layer, go down and make a mask out of it. Okay, so we could do it like that. Here's another way to do it. Let's try it with a different mouth. So I'm gonna turn these off because that looks fine to me. Okay, BMP mouth. Let's duplicate this layer again. Tuck that away. Okay, whoops. Deselect, arrow tool, position this over. Another thing you can do that's a little bit more accurate than trying to draw with the lasso tool is to use the pen tool down here. And this is what I did on the Wonder Pets as an intern. It's the path tool. So you click and drag and you get these points. I don't know if you can see this little thing that popped up, but that shows you how to use it. If you click and drag, you can basically draw a path with these handles that we can then turn it into a selection. So it's like you're drawing the selection. You can control the curve with these handles, and then we can just turn it into a selection. So how do I get this handle to like curve back, right? So I'm going to try to show you my keyboard. I have my 3 fingers on this Option key, the Command key, and the space bar, because each of those things will be a shortcut to give me a different tool to use this pen tool. So space bar will give me the hand tool, and I can move this document around if I need to. This Command tool will let me swing around these handles, but this Option button, sorry, I'm calling them tools. The button on the keyboard lets me break the handle and just move one side at a time. So now I'm aiming it in this direction, click drag, and then I'll come back here, click drag, so I get these little handles in the curve. I'm going to undo that, and then I'm just going to connect it here. So this is the most accurate way of doing it, but it does take some getting used to. So right click on the path that you just made, go to make selection, and again, we can keep the feather radius to 0. We haven't been feathering any of our textures. It does give you that option. And it turns that path that I drew into a selection. So now, I could come back up to select, modify, expand, like all those things that we did before. But instead of using the magic wand, I actually like directly controlled and drew in that selection that I wanted. And then with that selected, I can draw another one. So here's a little circle for the chin. So I'm just click drag with the pen tool and then connecting it back. And then while I'm still in the pen tool, I right click on it and then I have this make selection option. Oh, path. Okay. So let me backtrack. Before I turn that into a selection, I'm going to make my second path. So click drag, click drag, click drag, click drag, click drag. So all the paths that I want. And there's actually a path little panel here. You can go up to Windows menu and select path. Then you can make selection to all of those tiny little paths all at once. So paths are selected. They've been turned into selections. I am clicked on my texture layer. Now I can come down here and turn it into a mask. So here's a little bit of overlap that we don't want. Here's how to fix it. So when you're working with masks, and I explained this in the pre-recorded video, We're only concerned with whether it's the pixels are turned on or off, and that's represented by black and white. So you'll see my color panels here automatically turn to black and white whenever I'm clicked on the mask. Let's say I was painting with a different color on the texture. B for brush, you know, a little bit on the lip there. Whenever I click on the mask, do you see how these two colors automatically change to black and white? That's because it's not actually dealing with color. It's dealing with whether the pixels are being shown or whether they're being obstructed by the mask. So we can see that any black color will hide or erase the texture, and then any white color will reveal the texture. So we can go in and just paint in what we accidentally selected. So I'm just going to make my brush without an opacity to do this. And here I am in white on my mask layer. And you see how I'm painting? I'm actually not painting the color white. I'm painting more of the mask, and it's just revealing more of the texture. So let me undo that. And then let's swap it to black because we want to obstruct the texture. So I'm going to come in, make sure I'm on my mask, and you see how I'm erasing it? So I'm not drawing with a black paint. I'm actually like editing the mask with black or white, all right? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish these. Duplicate my texture, and then I'll show you the pen tool again. I recommend using the pen tool, but it will take just a little bit to get used to. Once you do, though, there's a pen tool in After Effects, there's a pen tool in Premiere. You know, it's just really handy for drawing masks on other layers. So I'm going to show you again. Here is P for pen tool. I'm selected on my layer. Click drag, I get these handles. Click drag, I just kind of want to line up the curve with the handles. And then when I want to break this handle, I'm going to hit Option on the keyboard, so I get this carrot shape, and then just aim it in the direction I'm going for. And then I'll click drag here. I'm going to hit Option on the keyboard to break this handle, and then click drag. If I hit the Command button, then I get this white arrow, then I can just easily reposition. Then I'll hit Option, break this handle again, come back to the chin, click and drag, and then I'll create my enclosed line here. If I just hover over here, this little 0 appears and I can enclose my line. If I hit Command again, then I'll see that, oh, this will probably cut into the eye layer. Yeah, if I turn off the texture, you can see it's going into the eye. So I'm going to fix this mask right here with the pen tool. Hold down Command. Oh, that's affecting my other curve. So I'm actually going to hold down Option, click on the handle to break it in half, and then I can reposition it below the eye. And then I will create the chin path, click drag, just a little circle. There we go. And then now, oh, you can see, I need to edit that line. So I'm going to hold down this Command tool to get the white arrow again and just adjust the handle. There we go. Okay. With that selected, with the pen, I'm still inside the pen tool, still using the pen tool. I'm going to right click on the path, get this menu, make selection, no feather. There we go. It missed this guy, so I'm going to redo that. So I just deselected, and then I selected this work path layer. That way it will know that I want it to make a selection out of everything, not just one path. Okay, there we go. Texture, cut it out with this mask. Awesome. There's a quick way to duplicate layers in Photoshop. If you hold down Option on a layer, you see you get this double arrow, And that's a quick way to duplicate. All right, let's do this. Okay, this is where I have the teeth showing. So the teeth is going to be a painted color. It's not going to be textured. So, okay, move this over. And then quickly draw a path with the pen tool, P on your keyboard. Click drag, and then hold down Option. Just drag the handle to break it and have it go in the other direction. Click drag, Option to break the handle. You have to let go and then press Option and then click back to break it in half. All right, connect it here, and then I'm going to turn this off to make sure it didn't cover the eye, which it did. So I'm going to Option click, and you see how it collapses my handles when I just click on there? Unless I click drag, then I get my handles back. Then I release my stylus, but then hit Option again, and then I can break the handle in half. Okay, I'm going to deselect, and then select both paths, and then right click here, make selection. And then turn on my texture, mask it out. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to have to make a little extra layer to paint the teeth behind it. Because that'll be faster. That's the only reason why. So just use a regular brush, come in and paint this. So this is my little teeth layer, and I'll have to remember to merge all of that with my EE mouth shape. All right, duplicate this, hold down Option or Alt, drag. Position it over, use my pen tool with the P on the keyboard. Quickly draw that. You know, I could decide what color this little O shape is going to be, but I'm just going to keep it the same as the texture. Option to get my handles, and Option again to break them. Just double check the eye, that's fine. And then create my second path. Deselect, select both, and then right click, make selection. And then cut it out with the mask tool and move on. Here, Option, click and drag to duplicate a layer. Turn that on. V, drag it over, reposition it. Okay, so this has a little tongue, and again, I'm going to use that as a solid paint color instead of texture. So I'll make my path P on the keyboard, and I need to hit Command. And it's got a little messed up, so I'm just going to delete it and try again. Click here to resume, and then now can move this. Okay, this got twirled around. Okay. Now I'm back in my pen tool, hold Option, and then click and drag, hold Option, click and drag, hold Option, click and drag. Close it up, check for the eye. Okay, hold down Command so you get the white arrow, and then let's break this, hold Option, and then drag that handle down. Turn this back on, make your second path. There we go. Deselect, select, and then come back here. You're still in the pen tool, right click, make selection. And then turn that into a mask. Awesome. And then make the little tongue. I'm just going to paint this in. With brush, B for brush. There it is. And then, okay, this will be the last thing I make today, so I'll just duplicate this. Okay, V for arrow, position this over, and then FV. So yeah, that's going to be teeth here. And then I'll use the pen tool, P, cut this out, or at least cut the shape. Option, these, click and drag, hit Option to break the handle, click and drag. This is a little bit of a curve. Hit Option to redirect this handle, and kind of like that. Check for the eye. Yeah, that's overlapping. So I'm going to hit Command to get the white arrow, hit Option to break the handle, and I need to fix this part here. So I'm going to hit Command again, select it so that my handles show back up, and then I can drag the handle. Okay, and then create the next one, this one. Okay, deselect, select, turn on my layer. Right click in the pen tool, make selection. And then cut out the mask, so down here. And then paint in the little teeth. Teeth goes under the texture. Teeth. Okay. And then I'm going to paint it with a lighter color. B for brush. There it is. And then I think I am just going to add a little detail on the outline of the mouth to show as if like the teeth was making a crease on the lip. So that might make it read a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to save this and then begin to merge it for, so all the layers are ready for After Effects. So I'm going to save it, save. It's taking a minute there. Okay. Get rid of all these other things. And then I'm going to save as, before I do anything else, I'm going to save over my merged file. So I'm going to name it merge, and this is so the animator knows, hey, somebody prepped all these files for you, all these layers, they're ready for you to go, they're merged. So name it merge. I'm going to overwrite what I already had. Yes, replace. Okay. All right. And so again, this is where you clean up the file. Anything that you won't need in After Effects or that you don't want the animator to animate, you're going to want to merge it or at least tuck it away in Photoshop. So we can leave them the concept art for their reference. This body folder, that was an old version. I'm just going to delete it for them so it doesn't confuse them. Yeah, let's delete the group and the contents. The hero, they don't need the sketch, they're animating the final design. Yes, let's keep this frame for them. They might need that. And then let's begin to merge these layers. So body, outline, and its associated texture. Let's merge those together so that the animator doesn't get confused. So we're going to go to Layer menu, all the way down where it says Merge Layers. So Command E is the shortcut. And then again, just make sure your layer names are something intelligible that the animator will understand or that you yourself will remember. Okay, let's turn off the other things. Let's turn on this outline and let's turn on this texture. Select both of them by hitting click on this body layer, hit shift, and then click on another layer. That's how you select both of them. Then go up to layer all the way down, merge layers, and then make sure the name makes sense. This one we're going to reuse for poses 1 and 3. And then storyboard panels. we don't need to save that. That was just for our own reference. So let's delete that. We won't need that in After Effects. The eyes. Okay, let's see. I had created some eyelids. So let's merge those. So here's my outline for like a half blink. Here's the texture. So I'm going to click, shift, click, select that, and then merge layers. So you'll see that the layers merge in the direction that they're stacked. So that kind of makes a difference. If your outline is supposed to stay on top of your texture, then make sure you merge them that way. Okay, so here's my eyes. And then same for lids closed. Outline and texture, I'm going to select them both. Shift, click, go up to layer, merge layers. All right. So now everything's very clean. You know, every element previously had an outline, then it had a texture, but now I'm merging everything together. And then the eyes are like an off-white color. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing with the mouth. So let's leave on this body and merge our mouths. So here's FV mouth. This one had 3 layers. Cancel, I accidentally double clicked. So shift, click, click, and then Command E to merge. There we go. This one has a little tongue layer, so make sure they're all turned on and selected. Then I'm going to hit Shift, select the others, and then Command E to merge. Now that's one layer. So this is Command E to merge. And then this has a little teeth, so make sure everything is selected and turned on. I'm going to add another little detail here just so it's clear. Now he has 2 sets of teeth. Okay, so shift, click, click, layer, merge layers. Turn on the next. This one, I only need to merge 2 layers. And, oh yeah, I had painted this earlier. That was just for demonstration. Oh, I painted it on the texture layer. That wasn't very smart. I can quickly use the stamp tool, the clone stamp tool. I'm hitting bracket to make this clone stamp bigger. And basically, if I option click, then I can like paint over it with another section. Okay, now go back to my arrow tool. Okay, click, shift, click, layer, merge. And finally, these 2, click, shift, click, layer, merge layers. All right, and this floating texture, I could leave it there for the animator in case the animator needed to patch something up or whatever, but I'm not going to. So everything's turned off. I have all my poses built in these folders, and I'm going to save the merged version of this, and then take it into After Effects. Okay, so when you open up After Effects, you can just X out of whatever box pops up because I don't need their help. Just get me to After Effects. So we'll usually see this window, project window, composition window. Don't forget our footage window sometimes is tucked away behind that. And then down here is our timeline. Nothing's in here right now. So we're going to set up our main comp. So this was scene 4 from Mild West. And I'm just going to call it main, just so I know. So this is the right settings, 1920 by 1080. Again, make sure this is 24 frames per second. So this is our scene. This is our main comp, and I can zoom in and out of this comp window. Here's my empty timeline because we're inside this container. We're inside the main comp. So let's make our organizational folders, elements, and comps. As you work in After Effects, you'll find that you'll need to create your own comps in addition to the ones you're importing from Photoshop. So that's why it's nice to just put those separately in their own folder. All right, and then before we import, let us save and name this project after the scene. So here I am, make sure I'm in my right project folder, scene 4, and then I need a folder in here that says elements and projects. So projects is where I'm going to save the After Effects projects. So I'm going to name the scene 4. Usually followed by version number and then usually followed by animator's initials. Save. Okay. And then now I'm going to move all the stuff in that original folder I gave you. I'm going to move it into this elements folder. So I'll show you. Okay. Back in After Effects. We go to open, file open. No, I'm sorry, file import, file. Okay, here's my scene. Oh. Scene 4. And I just put my Photoshop layers into this new elements folder that I made just to organize it. All the design stuff, all my merged file, you know, concept art, my references, the textures I should move in there too. Yeah, hang on. It should be like this. Projects. Okay, let me show you again. File, import, file. Here's my scene. Okay, now I have my elements folder. Here's all my Photoshop stuff. All the elements I needed for Photoshop is just stuck in this folder, elements. And then projects is where I will save my After Effects projects. And then this is my animatic scene reference. So usually we just keep it floating on the outside for easy access. You could tuck it away into elements if you want, but this is just sort of how I have done it at many studios. So this is the folder structure. And right now we are going to import that merged PSD document. So select that and then make sure you import as a composition, not footage. Composition will retain all those beautifully merged layers that we need to animate separately. So again, we'll just keep it at editable layer styles. Bring that in. And then we will, this folder is all of my Photoshop layers. We don't really need it right now. I'm going to tuck that away in elements. And then this body file, the cactus, I'll actually move into my comps folder. So again, you know, you just want to be organized when you open a file, especially if you work on a team, you have to work on other people's files. You just want things to be super clean. There's nothing more annoying than working on someone's file who's not organized and you have no idea what they did, let alone how to fix it. So let's drag in.
Sorry, could you repeat again where we would save this After Effects?
Yeah.
Really quick. We just save as and then
Save as, and then in your project folder or in your scene folder, you know, you would want a folder of elements, which is your Photoshop design files, and then just make yourself a projects folder. And this is where you'll save your After Effects project files. Yeah. Cancel. Yep. Okay. So now let's bring this in. Okay. So now remember how large my Photoshop canvas was, right? This is so that we could have a close-up. While we're here, let me also import that animatic because that is going to be our reference. So import file, bring in this little MP4 or whatever your sound file is. And then this is going to sit in our comp. You can see this shot is only about 5 seconds long. And if I turn off my cactus comp, right, I have my storyboards underneath for reference. So, and I have my audio here. So I'm just going to quickly set up my timeline. If I hit O on the keyboard, O stands for out. I stands for in. So whatever layer you're selected on, O takes you to the very end. And then I can drag this over. N is the shortcut to move the end of your work area, whereas B is the beginning of your work area. So this just sets it up so that when you play it back or when you render it, it will only play this section. The other thing you want to remember to do is to turn this animatic layer, the storyboard animatic layer, into a guide layer. So right click on that, set it to guide, and it will be indicated by this little icon, this little hashtag icon almost. It's a crosshairs icon. And all that means is that it won't render out. It will let you see it, but when you export it out of After Effects, it won't show up. So that's what we want because, you know, this is just a reference for us. And in theory, you would render out the animation without the audio because your audio is being edited in your Premiere project. You know, you're going to have a mix and all the volumes and levels checked. For our assignment, though, we can just export the audio from After Effects. So I'm going to disable this. However, I will turn off the eyeball. So only the audio will come out. I'm not sure if you can hear can you hear the audio from my computer? No, okay, I'd have to share screen again. But let me just finish setting this up. So, okay, here is our cactus. And I'm going to scale it down because the shot in the storyboards, it's not an extreme close-up. It's about like here. It's about here. So I'm just going to place this to the best of my ability, and then I'm going to animate inside the cactus comp. So see how the cactus had its own white background? If I click in here, remember in Photoshop, we just had a white background. So this background, I actually want to turn into a guide layer, which means that when I come back out using this to navigate, right, it's no longer visible. So a guide layer means it doesn't get rendered, but it lets you see it inside, like in the comp that it exists in. And that's why it's called a guide layer. So this means I can put my own background against this scene. So, all right, our background layer is white. And now we're going to want to bring in our animatic into this comp as well. So this is where I will leave it on top. I usually put it in the corner so I have it as reference. If I twirl this down, I'm just gonna, or I can hit S for scale. Just gonna scale this down so I have it as reference, but I don't want to render it either. So I'm going to turn this to a guide layer. Otherwise, if I don't do that, right, it'll show up. So come back out here, right? It's going to show up. So I need it to reference inside here, but I don't want to show up outside. So right click on that, set it to a guide layer. And then when I come back out, it's not there. All right, so this will give me the timing of the poses that I created. So let's set that up. My poses, which I so clearly labeled, look how easy that is. Let me set all of these up. So we only have 3 body poses. I'm going to click or shift click, select all of them so that they can all be turned on. And then remember the anchor point. Just in case I might want to animate the rotation on one of the bodies, I'll have it ready to go if I do it first. So let's solo the layer, go up here to the pan behind tool or Y, and I'm going to move it to the base. And same for all of them. I have to select the layer first. And if I can't see where the anchor point is, I'm just going to toggle this button so that I can just see it better. Also, these guidelines here came in automatically and it's not useful for me right now. I'm just going to go to the view menu, turn off show guides. There we go. And then continue on with the anchor point. We were here, solo this, move this, and there we go. Okay, now I'm going to be animating the opacity on this. And so I'm going to set keyframes, I'm going to set hold keyframes on that. So I'm going to hit T for opacity. It doesn't really make any sense. You just have to memorize it. Turn on the stopwatch so that I can enable the keyframe, and then turn this to a hold keyframe first and foremost. And then while I'm here, I'm going to set keyframes for all of those attributes. So this is just something I've memorized over the years, but P is for position. I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. You have to make sure you're right clicking on the actual keyframe. T is already keyframed. R for rotation. Select that, and I'm just going to zoom in. Right click right on that keyframe, change it to hold. P, T, R, S for scale. Right click. P, T, R, S, A. A for anchor point. So again, if I set these, then I never have to worry about accidentally moving the layer and then creating a keyframe I didn't want. Okay. Now we can go and match the poses in the storyboard or in the animatic. So I'm going to hit T on all these layers, turn these off to opacity 0, and then scrub forward, and wherever my animatic, dictates, I'm going to follow that timing, or at least I'm going to use that timing as its basis. So turn off the body 1, come to body 2, scrub forward. Okay, it comes back to body 1 here. So then this turns off while this turns on. And here is our leaning pose. So 0 there, like this. All right, so now do you see how the body poses now matches the timing of the animatic, and it will match the timing of the audio. I'm going to select this, hit 0, I'm sorry, hit O on the keyboard, and then hit N, and then I can just automatically quickly trim it. Okay, so we have just timed the poses of the body, the main poses, right? And I'm going to, let's see, these eyes and mouths are going to be kind of floating on top of the body. I can't really parent it to anything because the body is not moving. I'm not moving the position or the rotation. I'm just turning the opacity on and off. So that means the eyes will have to float. And that's not a huge issue, but it is one of those things to keep in mind when you're building and structuring your Photoshop file, how it will need to be animated in After Effects. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to make sure the mouth and the eyes are parented to each other. So I think I will have the eyes layer be the parent. So let me just move the anchor point here to right in between. And then for the mouths, the anchor point doesn't matter so much for the mouths, but I'm just going to set it anyway. And I'm going to kind of set it to the same area, kind of like the bridge of the nose. All right. Okay, and then with this little pick whip, I'm going to connect the mouth to the eyes. That way the eyes become the parent to the mouth. If I hit P for position, and with my regular arrow tool, I move the eye layer, my mouth comes with me, which is great. So that means I only need to put keyframes on this eye layer, and then the mouth will follow. So let's go ahead and set that up. So P, I'll just do this all at once. Turn those on, right click, set them to hold keyframes. And then before I do too much more animation, I'm just going to match the eyes to the body. So that's literally just eyeing it. And this is where the anchor point is important, because now I can just place it and like kind of register it to the middle of the face and then rotate it so that it makes sense. That. And yeah, the style of my animation is that the eye will overlap with the edge of the cactus and the chin overlaps a little bit. And that's just part of my style guide. So it works for the rules of my universe. Then I'll come here and line it up with this pose. So I'm going to position it back, and then I'm going to rotate it back. Like this. And he's going to be looking down a little bit. So I might even just shift everything down slightly. See in there? And then move this back. So he's kind of going back and forth in this scene in terms of the action. All right. Now, if I play it, hit spacebar.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, then this picture
Right.
makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, a
Sorry.
a
Stop.
virility.
Stop. Okay. So this pose, I don't like it too much. I'm going to move the eyes a little bit like this and rotate it just a little bit. Okay. Oops. So do you see how this made a keyframe automatically when I move this around? It's actually not where I wanted it. I wanted it to be here. So I'm going to hit J or K to advance in my timeline to the next keyframe. And that way I can avoid things like this. All right. Now we're going to set up the mouths to do the lip sync. Yep. All right. So we're going to go inside our mouth comp. Double click. Got all these mouths. And remember, we merged the layers. So now it's actually very clear. It's just one layer per mouth shape. And there really is no need to set anchor points inside here, because we're going to be animating it out here in this layer. So I'm not going to do that inside, but we still need the animatic reference. So this is where, again, I'll right click, turn this into a guide layer. Down here. And animate the opacity for all of this. So T for opacity, hit that stopwatch to create a keyframe, and then toggle, hold keyframe. And then turn everything off. So make that 0. And then now we have the first. So now this is where we begin to animate the lip sync. And we want to really be able to scrub through the audio. So if you notice, since this layer has audio in it, when you twirl down, it actually has an audio option. So if we look at the waveform, sometimes that might help you see where the syllables are coming in. And then I'm going to zoom in more. And then if you hold down Command on your keyboard while you click and drag, it lets you scrub the audio. And so this is where you'll know where to put your keyframes. So
Then this picture makes him.
So the line is that, and this picture makes him look like, right? So he's in the middle of saying the word that. And then I'm going to hide this now so I can see the others. So his mouth's already open. So I'm going to actually start. Oh, autosave. If you go to the After Effects menu, Preferences, Autosave, you're going to want to make sure this is turned on, which it is. I'm just not sure why it doesn't want to save it. I'm just going to go to File and Save regularly for now. Huh. Is there something wrong with my hard drive? It won't save here though. It's here. Huh. It hasn't saved since 2:58 and it's 3:21. That's a dangerous spot to be in. Interesting. Let me see if I can save a new version. Save as. Save as. It might be because I moved some things around. Anyway, this is why it's a good idea to always have versions ready. Okay, that looks like it worked. I think it's because when I was showing you earlier, I was moving the project's files around in the background. And so with After Effects, you have to keep everything in the same folders. Otherwise, After Effects can't find it. So you want to set up your folders properly first before you start bringing stuff into After Effects. So that should solve it now. Okay, back to lip sync. Starting with the ah mouth, not the neutral mouth. So saying that, and then it's going to help me with this view better. So I'm going to hold down Command, click and drag. And then the mouth kind of closes a little bit. So turn that off. Go to, even though he's not saying E, I think I need this shape in between. That. And I might move this over one frame. Make sure I'm making keyframes on at least every 2. And then saying that. And so I might go back to this ah mouth because I only have 7 mouths here. This. So there's a TH here. I'm actually going to use the TH instead. TH instead of this one. And move that earlier. This, so that S sound kind of sees the teeth. So you can see that I'm kind of reusing these mouth shapes once I'm in the scene. I'm not using the E. I'm reusing this E mouth a lot more often than just for the E sound. Let's turn that off. Okay. So when he says picture, I'm going to go to that closed mouth. And it's actually going to be kind of almost like an in-between. I'm not going to hold on that mouth very long. So I'm going to go to this one, turn this one off, go to this one. So the mouth comes back open a tiny bit. Use the ah mouth. picture. He's saying picture. And for the CH sound, I might use the O mouth. Oops, 100. Picture. Picture makes him look. So I'm going to go to the EMP mouth. So I'm just blocking this out based on what I can hear, based on some of my prior experience. But it still really won't matter until I play it back and see it in motion. Makes him look manly enough. I'm just gonna actually skip back to the M mouth here because that goes fast. Looks. I'll use the L mouth here. Turn that off. Makes him look. And come back to the M because it's going to emphasize the word manly enough. And then go to the open mouth, ah. Manly. So I'm going to go to the L mouth instead of closing it for the N and manly. Because I think that'll emphasize it more. Turn this off. And then just quickly go to the E. Enough. So maybe go to the open A mouth. Enough. So there's that F sound, that FV. So maybe we can go there quickly. Oh. Oh, what's happening? Oh yeah, that's manly enough.
Manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. Manly enough to be on a tonic.
Manly enough to be. Enough to be. So I'm going to go to the M mouth and or the B mouth, which is the same.
Enough to
B. Go to the E mouth here.
look manly enough to be on enough to be enough to be
on this one.
Enough to be on to be
Tonic. T. So the T sound, I'm gonna just close the mouth with the E and then open it back up again. So tonic bottle. Ah, kind of. And then go back to the E here. Tonic bottle. Bottle. So close the mouth first. with the BMP mouse.
A tonic
Bottle. I'll move this earlier.
tonic
Bottle. Go to mouse. Okay.
tonic
Bottle. I'll go to the L mouse. And then I like to use the BMP as an in between to the neutral. So I'm going to end on the neutral here. Okay, so let's play it back and just see how it looks after blocking it out. So again, if I hit this animatic layer, I hit O, it takes my cursor to the out point of the layer. I takes it to the in point. So if I move this around, you know, and I hit I, it will automatically go to wherever the layer is starting. And then O brings it to the end. So I don't want to move it though. I just want to go to the end, O, and then I'm going to hit N as in Nancy to bring my work area ending point to where my cursor is. And now I can hit space bar and play, or you can go up here and here are your playback controls too. And you can set your space or your shortcut to be spacebar to preview.
that, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, then this
Okay, we can actually make this a little sooner. So
that, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle.
how does it look to you? Is it believable? Is there anything you would fix? Is there any math positions that are like catching your eye in a weird way? I'll play it.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle.
Any notes?
They all seem to make sense to me, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if I were to have made more mouths, I think what I would have done is I needed a couple more options with this ah mouth because I ended up using it quite a lot. Like, look at all the keyframes here. And so I think I would have liked to have a wider ah and then like a slightly more closed ah. That way, when he emphasizes certain words,
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on.
like the word that, and then this picture makes him look manly enough. Like it's very slight. He's not exaggerating those syllables, but I think I would have just liked a little bit of variation in my mouth shapes. But in general, as I was talking through it, that was just sort of my decision making. I ended up using the E for a lot of syllables that are not E at all. However, it is like a closed mouth shape, meaning that the jaw comes up. And if you go back to the example of the sock puppet, you know, Kermit the Frog, it's just basically open, close, open, close. So E is kind of like what I was using as the equivalent of like a closed without having the lips be closed too. So it takes a little bit of trial and error. It depends on your drawing style as well as what you want it to look like. But now when we come back out here, it's going to be floating on top of everything.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, then this.
So N, and then
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle.
so at this point, you know, I would add some rotation keyframes to the body so that there's a little bit of ease and anticipation when he moves over, stretches over. I would animate the eyelids and the eye blinks. We didn't make eyebrows for him, but obviously, if you look at my animatic, you know, his eyebrows are very expressive. Um, you know, they kind of frown, they kind of like smirk. So then those would be the things to animate on top to really, you know, give dimension to this performance, or you know, through the animation to the performance. Um, I don't like this pose here. It just goes a little bit too off model. If I hit J and K, I can go straight to the next keyframe. So I'm just gonna change the position on this because it's not really working. Maybe like that's just a little better. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else to show you. Let's add some of those blinks then. And this would be fairly simple too. Again, it's just a matter of animating the opacity. So T for opacity. And then change that to hold keyframes. Oh, undo, hold. And then I'll bring the animatic in here again so that I can easily reference it. And make that a guide layer so that it doesn't show up. See, if I come back out, it's showing up. It's attached to my eyes. So make sure you turn things to be a guide layer so that they don't show up where they're not supposed to. This one is allowed to show up because it is in this comp, but it doesn't show up outside it. Here we go. Okay, let's just animate some eye blinks. We'll start with the eyes open. So these are, oh, okay. Here's our pupils too. The eyes, these we're not going to animate, so we could actually lock this layer down right here. But the pupils, we do want to animate. And actually, we do want to set the anchor point on these. So select this layer. Well, which one is left? That one's left. Solo it, it's easier to see. And then take my anchor point, which is kind of hidden here, but I just want to put it right on top of the pupil. And this is just going to be a very visual, quick visual indicator of which layer I'm selecting. So I'll do the same with the right pupil. Move this anchor point right on top. And then basically we'll only be animating the position parameter on the pupil layers. So turn those into hold keyframes. Yeah. And then I'll use my animatic as a reference again. And because I'm a little bit limited because I didn't make eyebrows, I'm going to listen to the performance and just use what I have with the links and kind of like have that do some of the acting for me. So I'm going to hit N and then
Then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle.
So,
Then this picture makes him look manly enough makes him look.
okay. So I'm actually going to start him with a half lid.
Then this picture makes him look.
And then that will give me the range to go to more of a wide eye, as in like an emphasis or an accent.
Then this picture makes him look manly
And then have it come back to this.
enough to be on a tonic bottle.
And then his tone changes.
A virility tonic bottle. To be on a tonic bottle.
And so in this, the shift between the tone, I'm gonna emphasize that with the blink. So I'm gonna go to the closed eyes. And then I'm gonna come back out of it and use this half blink as an in-between. And And then go to the wide again for emphasis. So because I only have these 3 positions to work with, no eyelids, half eyelids, and closed eyelids, right? I'm kind of like designating the range of expression that I have with these. Obviously, I would go back into Photoshop and actually draw the little in-betweens that I would need just so I have more flexibility in After Effects. But now we have this. So if we just look at the eyes moving with the audio.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That.
Okay, so actually his voice comes back down, so I'm gonna bring the eyelids back in. Scrubbing it, hold down Command,
A virility.
and then his eyes kind of come back in here, so I might have him blink. Oh, 100%, not 10. I'm gonna have him blink just for a few frames. Yep. And this is like my way of easing with the poses that I do have. Oh, and play.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, then this
Yeah.
picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That.
So, you know, when you layer all these different moving elements, you know, that's how you kind of layer dimension into performance.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. That, then this picture makes him. That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That, then this.
Yeah.
Then this picture makes him look manly enough to look manly enough.
I'm gonna adjust this to happen a little after.
That, then this picture makes him look manly enough to be on a tonic bottle. A virility tonic bottle. That.
Yeah, so you get the idea. And then when we come back out into our main comp now and turn on our animatic layer, right, we can see, okay, yeah, it kind of lines up with the shot composition that was storyboarded. And the poses, the timing follows the poses. And that's looking good. So we can bring in, you know, other characters. I'm just going to save this. We can bring in our background. You know, if we wanted to, we could put him in a scene with Snooki, import file, you know, go to the Snooki folder, bring in her file, you know, all these things, whatever your scene is, whatever it is that you're animating. Snooki goes in the comps. This goes in the elements. Here, bring her in here. S for scale. You know, arrow tool to move her over. Maybe she's here. Maybe Cactus is here. You know what I mean? And then we would go inside her comp, have all that set up, you know, turn her background layer to a guide. Guide here. Come back out. And another, she could be a little bigger. Yeah. Like that, you know, the background element, maybe it's that same scene from New York, or it could be something that I drew in Photoshop, all these things. So this is how it starts to come together. And all of this is now being positioned in my main comp. So when I just click on this, see, all of this is happening in my main comp. Inside my main comp, right, I have all these nested comps. Here's Snooki. I can zoom out. Here's all of her animation. Come back out. I can go into Cactus. Here's all of Cactus's animation, keyframes happening, so on and so forth.